All right, here we are. Okay, Harry. Yearly NFL predictions 2025-26 season. Let's jump into it. And we may as well start with my favorite team's division, the AFC North. I have the Browns going a whopping 3-14. That quarterback situation is a mess. Joe Flacco is going to be the week one starter. So we'll see how that goes for them. He is definitely, obviously the most experienced of the group. They traded away Kenny Pickett. Maybe you see Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel at some point. I don't know. I don't think the Browns are going to be too good. Next, in third place, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Still making the playoffs, though, at the 7th seed at 10-7. They're going to not go 9-8, I promise. They go 9-8, I'm gonna cry inside. But they're going 10-7. Aaron Rodgers, I would argue, is an upgrade over Russell Wilson. DK Metcalf is certainly an upgrade for George Pickens. They of course lost Minka Fitzpatrick, but they really improved the cornerbacks, so they don't have to be. Their secondary should hopefully be better. You're hoping the run defense is better. I'm trying to angle this properly so that way you can still see Harry. Yeah, that'll do for now. But yeah, the run defense should be improved after Derek Carmen. Of course, he's going to miss some time this season, unfortunately. But yeah, that's where I have that going. Next, in second place, I have the Cincinnati Bengals at 12-5. Look, their defense can't possibly be as bad as it was last season, right? It can't be. I mean, that's my theory, right? They finally got the Trey Hendrickson deal done. It can't be as bad as last year. That's my thinking. And if they get off to a better start this season, they should be fine. And that means in first place, I obviously have the Baltimore Ravens. They're simply just the best team in the division right now. The most well-rounded team, I should say. And that's going to cause them to go 12-5 and win the division via tiebreaker. Now, I very well could see the Bengals going 11-6, 10-7. It just really depends on how well their defense does. But Baltimore, I think, regardless, should still win this division. As I said, they're the most well-rounded team. Moving on to the AFC South now, I have the Houston Texans at 10-7, getting the 4th seed. And with the Texans, I was very close. I was very close to not putting them at the top. But I did. And I did that because I trust CJ Stroud more than I trust Trevor Lawrence. And I have the Jaguars in second place, barely missing out on the playoffs at 10-7. I just trust the Texans more. If their offensive line can hold up, which I am very shaky on, I think they'll be okay this season. But it really depends a lot on that offensive line and CJ Stroud. But if CJ Stroud is getting killed, it's hard. It's hard. And the Jaguars, they very well could be, an 11-win team for, maybe that's a bit outlandish, but still, I genuinely do think Jaguars are very much improved. And if Trevor Lawrence can stay healthy and get, if he can be serviceable, I think the Jaguars have a good chance at the playoffs. Moving on, third place, I have the Tennessee Titans. It's a bad team. All right, let's just be real. It's a bad team. And the reason I have them finishing above the Colts is because I trust Cameron Ward more than I trust either Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson, which Daniel Jones is the starter, but that doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in me. I think if the Titans are going to win games, I think it's going to be because either Cam Ward balls out or hi Harry, or their defense does well, which I think is definitely possible. The Colts, I'm sorry, I don't see having a very good season at 4-13. Their schedule is not the easiest for starters. And as I said, I don't trust the quarterbacks. But moving on, we'll go on to the AFC East now. In last place, I have the New York Jets at 6-11. I wanted to put them higher, I really did. But first off, it's the Jets. How much can you really trust the Jets? And secondly, Justin Fields, he is a good quarterback, but he's certainly not a great quarterback. You know his ceiling, and his ceiling and his floor, they're, how do I put this? His ceiling is very high, but if the Jets don't get that ceiling, they very well could do worse than 6-11. Moving on, I have the New England Patriots at 7-10. I think they're going to be improved this year, just with Drake May getting another year. Of course, they drafted Will Campbell. They got Stephon Diggs, so they have a number one receiver now. The offense should be improved. I like Mike Vrabel as a coach, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I have the Dolphins in second place, finishing at 8-9. The Dolphins are such a weird team to me because the Dolphins very well could be a 10-win team. But, and say it with me now, if Tua stays healthy, they have potential. We just don't know about Tua's health. I hope he stays healthy, I really do. I hope that more than anything. But unfortunately, we do know Tua's ceiling. The Dolphins don't beat quality opponents. They just don't. So if you beat up on the garbage teams, but then you don't win any of the meaningful games, then what are you doing? And that, of course, means I have the Bills finishing in first place in the division, getting the second seed at 13-4. Look, the Bills rely on one man and one man only, and that man's name is Josh Allen. If Josh Allen goes down, the Bills' season is over. But, assuming Josh Allen stays healthy, the Bills are going to be competitive once again, and probably lose to the Chiefs again in the divisional round, who I, of course, have finishing in first place in the AFC West. I mean, look, until I get proven wrong, the Chiefs are winning that division. That's all I pretty much need to say there. Second place, I have the Chargers. The Chargers are finishing in second place at 10-7, getting the sixth seed. And look, I like Jim Harbaugh as a coach, and you know how he wants to run this team. He wants to pound the football into the ground, run it, run it, run it. That's how he wants it. So, of course, they have two good tackles in Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, who unfortunately Rashawn Slater is going to miss the entire season. And that sucks. That really sucks. Hopefully it doesn't hurt them in the long run, but I very well could see them losing a game as a result at some point. But who knows? Moving on, I have the Broncos finishing in third place in the division at 9-8, missing out on the playoffs. Look, I know I'm going to get some flack for this, and that's fine. I get it. But, hear me out. The Broncos were very one-dimensional last year. Bo Nix was that offense. They had no running game. And they simply cannot be one-dimensional again. They have to have a running game. I know they drafted KJ, what's his name? The running back. They drafted the running back. KJ something. I don't remember his name. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's going to kill me now. But you know who I'm talking about. The running back. So hopefully that improves their running game. On top of that, they don't really have any overall superstars on either side of the ball outside of Patrick Surtain. Of course, they drafted Jahdae Barron, who could be good, but we don't know. He's a rookie. Which, of course, means I have the Raiders sitting at 6-11 in last place. Look, the Raiders, first and foremost, they play in one of the hardest divisions in football, so that already doesn't help them. Two, I think they simply have the worst roster of the four teams. I like the Pete Carroll hire. I think it's a good hire. However, I don't think it's going to help them much this season. I think Genty could be good, but it depends on, because the Raiders' offensive line very shaky. Moving on now to the NFC North, where in last place I have Chicago Bears at 5-12, and oh boy, I know I'm going to get heat for this, but listen, hear me out. This has nothing to do with Caleb Williams. This literally just has to do with the Bears being the Bears. The Bears suck every year. They're the kings of the offseason, and then they suck every year. I have to see it to believe it, personally. I think Caleb Williams could be special, but I gotta see it. I gotta see it for a full year under Ben Johnson first. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Moving on, Minnesota Vikings. And finishing at 8-9. Look, Vikings have a good roster. You know, they remind me a lot of Seattle a few years ago after they traded away Russell Wilson. Because Seattle actually had a good roster. There was just a question mark about the quarterback in Geno Smith. And it's kind of the same thing here. Nobody knows with J.J. McCarthy. If J.J. McCarthy is, decent, I very well could see the Vikings sneaking into the playoffs. I could. It could be just as good as last. Okay, maybe not that good, but they very well could. I wouldn't be surprised if this team makes the playoffs, but it all depends on J.J. McCarthy. Second place, I have the Packers. And the reason I have the Packers finishing in second is because I, of course, have the Lions finishing in first. Spoilers, as if nobody knew. I have the Packers finishing in second because their pass rush, bit shaky at times last year. You haven't really seen that development from, what's-his-face? Lucas Van Ness. You haven't really seen that development. Rashawn Gary, he's a good pass rusher, but he's not a great pass rusher. The Packers don't have that guy that can get to the quarterback. That was, I think, one of the many things holding them back last year. On top of that, they couldn't beat too many quality opponents. They lost to the Lions twice last year, the Vikings twice last year. They lost to the Eagles twice last year, including once in the playoffs. I gotta see them be one of those teams that are ranked a tier above them in order for me to truly believe in them. Moving on, Lions, first place. Look, the Lions still have a good roster, even with their coordinators. I understand people are concerned about that. However, I really think it comes from Dan Campbell, not the coordinators. Of course, the coordinators help, but I do think that a majority of it comes from Dan Gamble, if you will. Because he's the guy calling the shots on those fourth down plays. He's the guy calling the shots, on those critical third down plays. So I think this team lives and dies by Dan Campbell. And I think as a result, the Lions are still going to be really good. And they're going to get the first seed in the NFC. Moving on. The NFC South. I have the Buccaneers finishing in first place at 10-7. And I was very close to putting the Falcons above them. But I didn't because I don't, again, as I said with the Vikings, I don't know with Michael Penix. We've only seen 3 games from Penix, and I really like the Buccaneers this year. I've always been a believer in Baker, and that comes from a Steeler fan, as you can tell. I've always liked Baker Mayfield. Even when he was in Cleveland, I liked him. But, I'm just saying, I do think the Bucs have a better roster. I think that the Bucs overall are just going to have a better offense. I think the Falcons may have a better defense, but I think the Bucs are going to be a bit better, even though the Falcons did sweep them last year. But that means I have the Falcons finishing at 8-9. It sounds familiar for the Falcons. And as I said, Penix, he could be good, but we don't know. We haven't seen enough. He tore up the Panthers last year, but that was the Panthers. The Panthers' defense stunk. It stunk. I gotta see it to believe it, personally. And that's not a shot at the Falcons. I don't mean to be mean. I just gotta see it first. Moving on, I have the Panthers. Maybe this is a bit high. I have them at 7-10. Look, Bryce Young, he really turned it on last year after the benching. And I think if he can continue to take another step forward, another year with Dave Canales, the defense should hopefully improve from where it was the past couple years. I could see the Panthers squeaking out 7 wins. Maybe 8, but that seems like a bit of a stretch. But if Bryce Young can improve, I think the Panthers have potential to be a good team. Well, a middle-of-the-road team. And that, of course, means I unfortunately have the New Orleans Saints finishing at 3-14 and getting the first pick in the draft. Shocking, I know. Look, man, the Saints quarterback situation, I don't know who's going to start week 1. You don't know who's going to start week 1, unless, of course, you're watching this in the future, which, hey, fair enough. But listen, Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, and whoever the heck else they have, who knows what is going on over there? I don't know. I don't trust the Saints. And on top of that, the roster is just either old, retired, or just bad. So I'm sorry, Saints. You're not going to be very good this year. Moving on to the NFC East now, I have the New York Giants finishing in last place at 3-14. And look, admittedly, that might be a bit low. But let me tell you why I have them that low. Their schedule, for one, is not the easiest thing in the world. Secondly, I think there are 3 teams in their division that are definitely much better than them. On top of that, you don't know what you're getting with any of the veterans, or Jackson Dart for that matter. So you have a big question mark at the quarterback position. I think the thing that is going to win them games, however, is going to be the pass rush. That pass rush should be good. You just added Abdul Carter. You, of course, have Brian Burns. You're hoping Kayvon Thibodeau can take another step. And, of course, you still have Sexy Dexy. But that pass rush is going to win the Giants games. I just don't think it'll be very many. The Cowboys, I have finishing in third at 8-9. First and foremost, at the time I am recording this, the Cowboys still have not re-signed Micah Parsons. How do you not have this dude signed? And more importantly, how do you not sign him before every other pass rusher gets their deal done? Because now you're just going to have to pay him more money. It's so dumb. But I digress. So, for starters, I don't even know if Micah Parsons is going to play. That is the number one thing. Secondly, I just think there are 2 better teams in that division. I mean, the Eagles are certainly better than them. I think roster-wise, I think the Cowboys might be better than the Commanders. But talent-wise, I don't think so. I think they are a better coached team than the Cowboys. And I think that they get a better quarterback play out of it. But maybe I'm wrong. I could see the Cowboys sneaking into the playoffs. I could. Maybe Schottenheimer is the guy. Commanders, I have at 10-7, finishing in second place in the division, getting the 7th seed in the playoffs. And look, I have the Commanders taking a step back for not really a good reason. I just think the Eagles are that good. And that isn't a shot at the Commanders. I just think the NFC is going to be tougher this year. Simple as that. And in first place, getting the 2nd seed, I have the Eagles at 12-5. The Eagles, look, they're gonna be a great team. They just won the Super Bowl, obviously. They still have Saquon, Hurts, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and that entire defense for the most part. They lost Slay, but they should be fine. They're gonna be a great team. I don't think that's a very hot take by me. But moving on to the final division here, we have the NFC West in first place. Look, I was very conflicted on this one. I wasn't sure, but I think ultimately, where are you going, Harry? Where are you going? Oh, okay, be careful. All right, down you go. Sorry, Harry, you can't do that. Anyways, moving on, NFC West, I have the San Francisco 49ers. And I have the San Francisco 49ers here for one reason. They died last year. I still think they have a good roster. I think Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. I think he's a serviceable quarterback. And I still think they have a lot of talent on that team. And they have gotten the best of the Rams in recent years for whatever reason. The Rams I have finishing in second place. And I had the Rams finishing in second place because Matt Stafford isn't getting any younger. He isn't. And in all honesty, I mean, I could see the Rams finishing in first. In all honesty, I could see any of these four teams finishing in first. I really could. It just depends a lot on quarterbacks. But I trust Sean McVay a lot. I really do. I think he is a spectacular coach. I just don't. I think Matt Stafford is just getting too old. I really do. Moving on, I have the Seattle Seahawks finishing in third place. I think Sam Darnold is a slight downgrade to Geno Smith, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I have them finishing at 7-10. I think they have a fine enough roster to compete with some teams, but I don't think they'll be able to pull out the win against a lot of the better teams in the NFC, and that's why I have them finishing at 7-10. And of course, in last place, I have the Arizona Cardinals at 6-11. Look, how long are we going to tease Kyler Murray? Every single year, it's the same thing with him. Oh, this is his year. He's gonna break out. He's gonna be the quarterback we all expect him to be. And look, we've all seen those flashes from him, but it just hasn't translated to a full season yet. And I don't know. I don't know what to think. I really don't. Moving on, who do I have winning the Super Bowl? I have the Detroit Lions winning the Super Bowl. That's right. This is their year. This is their year. Why do I think it's their year? I think their running game is really good. I think Jared Goff is excellent, and I think he's a perfect fit for that system. On top of that, Amon-Ra St. Brown is excellent. He's superb. And they're getting a full season of Aiden Hutchinson again. That is going to be a night and day difference. As long as they can stay healthy, I think they have a really good shot. Now, for my awards, who do I have winning all these awards? We'll start off with the MVP. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is going to be the MVP. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's going to be the MVP. Offensive Player of the Year. By the way, this is totally unscripted. I'm doing this on the spot, man. Except for the record predictions. I did have those. But, who's going to win Offensive Player of the Year? It's going to be, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I just talked about him. He is a superb wide receiver. He's an excellent route runner, and I think him and Jared Goff have an excellent connection. I think it's just going to translate, and it's going to be a big reason why they win the Super Bowl this year. Defensive Player of the Year. Look, I'm a Steeler fan. I have to say TJ Watt. I have to. He's gonna win it. I promise you, he's gonna win it. He's gotten robbed a couple times, but he's gonna win it this year. Because he's better than Myles Garrett. That's right, I said it. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I don't know. There are interesting options. I'd say Genty is probably the favorite to win. But we have seen that the NFL does favor quarterbacks, and as a result, I think it's going to be Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year because we've seen it in the past how the NFL favors quarterbacks. The MVP, of course, is, obviously a quarterback award. I think it's going to be. That's how I think it's going to be. Now, Defensive Rookie of the Year is interesting. I would say Abdul Carter is probably the favorite if I had to take a guess. But I'm going to go a different route. I'm going to say Jahdae Barron from the Broncos. I don't know why. I think that him pairing up with Pat Surtain is a really good idea in that system. I don't know. Just a hunch. Now, Comeback Player of the Year, I have being Aiden Hutchinson. I think that's probably the most obvious pick, but I think it's the one that makes the most sense. I think Aiden Hutchinson is an absolute monster. He is a freak of nature, and he's going to win that award. Coach of the Year. Coach of the Year is an interesting award because it's not necessarily who the best coach is. It's more so who was able to take their team from the bottom and bring them to the top the best. And in that case, I don't really know, in all honesty. I could see this could be a Liam Cohen award. I very well could see that happening. Ooh, yeah, I'm gonna go with Liam Cohen. I think the Jaguars have potential this year, especially if the Jaguars make the playoffs. I very well could see Liam Cohen getting this award. Other than that, I think that's it. So, don't die. And, don't die.